Some ruled with brilliance, others drowned Rome in madness. From paranoid tyrants to philosopher-kings, Roman emperors shaped history, but not all legacies were golden. Let's rank them from worst to best. Ranking Roman emperors reveals more than fame. It's a mix of power, chaos, and legacy. Some built Rome up, others nearly destroyed it. Let's explore the ones who brought it to the brink. Tiberius. Tiberius had a brilliant start, rewarded as a fine general and successor to Augustus. But all changed when he pulled out of Rome into his luxurious hideaway in Capri. He gave his power to his ruthless prefect, Sejanus, who ruled with terror and secret executions. Afterward, Tiberius grew paranoid, starting trials and purges for treason. Life became terrifying in Rome. On the surface, stability may have rested, but beneath that were suspicions, cruelty, and isolation. A dark stain on history, a tragic downward trend for an emperor. Caligula. Caligula's reign began like a fairy tale and descended into a nightmare. At first, the people adored him, handsome in his prime, the golden son of Germanicus. But after his mysterious illness, something snapped. He made a mockery of the senators, gave out random death sentences, and showered wealth on his vanity projects. His most ridiculous declaration was allegedly to make his horse a consul to embarrass the Senate. Whether due to madness or intoxication with power, Caligula was a byword for madness and chaos, and his short reign was brought to an untimely end by assassination at the hands of his guards. Elagabalus. Elagabalus was scarcely a teenager when he arrogated to himself power. His alien cult came from Syria and was established by him in Rome as the center of worship. He placed his sun god above all, married a Vestal virgin, and held grotesque public rituals that offended everyone. While some modern historians argue about the probable exaggerations in ancient accounts, no one has ever challenged his flagrant disregard for Roman customs and institutions. He was put down for his scandalous acts, androgyny, immorality, while by then even his grandmother had deserted him and was responsible for his assassination at the age of 18. Nero. The name Nero conjures up images of debauchery fiddling as Rome burned, killing one's mother, and making ludicrously expensive vanity projects. However, the plot is thicker. Some reformations were put forward by him, theaters and arenas were built for public entertainment, and he was popular amongst the lower classes. Nevertheless, the Great Fire of Rome and the ensuing severe repression made him a wanted man in elite circles. According to Suetonius and Tacitus, he was the incarnation of evil. Even if half those accounts are grossly exaggerated, the emperor's reign was one of pomp, murder, and chaos. Caracalla. Caracalla ruled through fear and violence. After murdering his brother Geta, he executed thousands of Geta's supporters in a brutal purge. Though he granted Roman citizenship to all free men, possibly for tax purposes, it wasn't enough to save his image. He drained the treasury with endless military campaigns and massacres, and many saw him as a bloodthirsty tyrant. He was eventually killed by one of his soldiers. No tears were shed. Commodus. If Caligula was insane, Commodus was a narcissist with a death wish. He believed he was Hercules reincarnated, fought in gladiator arenas for show, and renamed Rome and its calendar months after himself. Under his rule, the economy crumbled, the Senate was sidelined, and order collapsed. His bizarre obsession with fame made him a public spectacle. Eventually, he was strangled in his bath, and the Senate tried to erase him from memory. Commodus didn't just hurt Rome, he mocked everything it stood for. If Rome's worst emperors dragged the empire through madness, these short-lived rulers were caught in the wreckage. They didn't have time to build legacies, only to survive, and most failed. Galba took over after Nero's suicide, promising reform. But his rigid rule and failure to pay the soldiers who backed him proved fatal. He was assassinated within months. Otho replaced him, fought a losing civil war against Vitellius, and killed himself in defeat. Then came Didius Julianus, who bought the empire at auction from the Praetorian Guard. Yes, an emperor by highest bidder. Unsurprisingly, the people in military turned against him immediately. Pertinax tried to restore order after Commodus, but was murdered by the same corrupt guards he tried to discipline. Balbinus and Pupienus, briefly co-emperors, were killed by their soldiers. Even the obscure Silbanicus, so obscure that historians aren't even sure he ruled, symbolizes the chaos of the 3rd century. These emperors weren't evil or tyrannical. They simply had no chance. Their brief reigns reflect Rome's deeper instability, where loyalty was bought, not earned, and emperors lived at the mercy of the sword. After waves of bloodshed, betrayal, and chaos, a new standard of leadership emerged, measured, thoughtful, and legacy-focused. These men didn't rule through fear. They ruled through reason, reform, and vision. Nerva. When Domitian was assassinated, the Senate turned to Nerva, an elder statesman with a calm head. His reign was short, but crucial. He restored civil liberties, reduced treason trials, and most importantly, chose Trajan as his successor. That wise move kicked off a golden age. While Nerva struggled to control the army and faced internal pressures, he set the tone for stability and smooth succession. A quiet but important reformer. Trajan, liable for being known as the Optimus Princeps, Trajan was the last emperor to enlarge Rome's borders to their maximum at the conquest of Dacia, modern Romania, and on the wealth gains for the empire. But the man was much more than a conqueror. He conducted massive public works such as building roads, aqueducts, markets, and the magnificent Trajan's Column and Forum. He also introduced the Alimenta, a welfare scheme for orphans and poor children. A military genius with a social conscience, Trajan is synonymous with imperial greatness. Titus. Titus had thunderous shoes to fill, and his father was Vespasian too. When the latter had rebuilt Rome, Titus was soon praised for his sympathy and fortitude in just 2 years as emperor. Disasters marked his reign: the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and a great fire in Rome. Instead of hiding and blaming others, he sought to ameliorate the horror by providing money and public works. Even hostile historians like Suetonius and Dio could not deny Titus's decency, a ruler who confronted catastrophe with honor. Vespasian. After Nero's death and a brutal civil war, Rome needed healing. Vespasian delivered. He cut excess spending, brought fiscal sanity, and rebuilt morale. His biggest legacy: beginning construction of the Colosseum, the ultimate symbol of Rome. He also brought the military back in line and restored dignity to the imperial office. Practical, unpretentious, and effective, Vespasian was exactly what a battered Rome needed. Antoninus Pius and Marcus Aurelius. 2 decades of peace during which Roman law was further strengthened and war avoided was what the reign of Antoninus Pius saw. This was indeed one of the calmest periods in the entire history of the imperial empire. Then came Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who was composing meditations while leading armies on the frontier. He faced invasions and plague, but never abandoned Rome's values. Thoughtful, ethical, and disciplined, Marcus embodied the ideal of a Roman ruler under pressure. So after navigating centuries of imperial drama, how do these emperors stack up? We're judging based on cruelty, reform, economic stability, military success, and how much they either built or broke Rome. These emperors left behind fire, fear, and dysfunction. Elagabalus, reckless, religiously divisive, and wildly inappropriate for Roman tradition. Caligula, unpredictable, dangerously eccentric, and openly hostile to the Senate. Caracalla, brutal and paranoid, only notable for granting citizenship, mostly for taxes. Commodus, thought he was Hercules, and ruled like a delusional celebrity. Nero, a performer over a statesman, his fires, murders, and extravagance overshadow his early promise. Tiberius, paranoia turned into policy, and his retreat from leadership unleashed terror in Rome. Not great, not awful, just unlucky or overmatched. Galba, rigid and unpopular with the army. Pertinax, a decent man in a corrupt system, killed trying to clean it up. Didius Julianus, bought the throne, lost the people. Silvanicus, a historical footnote, symbol of imperial chaos. These emperors balanced power with wisdom, built for the future, and held Rome together. Vespasian, brought Rome back from the brink, rebuilt its heart. Titus, led through disaster with compassion and dignity. Nerva, restored peace, set up a dynasty. Trajan, warrior builder, protector of the people. Antoninus Pius, peaceful reformer and legal architect. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-king who ruled with heart and steel. Honorable or dishonorable mention: Honorius, emperor during the sack of Rome and responsible for losing Britain, poster child for late imperial decline. From madmen to masterminds, these emperors shaped the rise and fall of Rome. The worst became warnings, the best became legends. But history's never simple, so who do you think ruled best? Let us know your rankings in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more untold history every week.